it was that these dropouts dropped out was just the weight of reality, of what many of us feel as adults, the heaviness, the burden of just real world. For example, 32% of them said they had to drop out because they had to get a job to make money. 26% of them said they dropped out because they became parents. So then you have the cycle of children raising children. And 22% of them said that they dropped out because they had to care for family members. The other part of this study was to find out why the students dropped out, but then it was to find out what could have kept you in school. And students were very definitive about that. As you can see, 81% of the students in this study said that if they had had more opportunities for real world and experiential learning, and very specifically they cite internships and service learning, if they had had those opportunities, they would have stayed in school. Also, 81% reported that if they had been able to see the connection between what they were doing in school and getting a good job, that would have kept them in school. They couldn't make the connection. They couldn't understand how algebraic equations would lead them to an engineering job. They didn't understand how algebraic equations would lead them to become a teacher or an assistant principal or a principal. They also said that if they had had improved instruction and academic rigor, if they had been asked to do things that were thinking problems, that were hands-on, that were manipulative, they would have been able to stay in school. Finally, or actually another point is that if they had had access to support systems, tutoring, summer school, extra time with teachers, extra time in class to do things, that would have helped them as well. And finally, if they had had better teachers who had made classes interesting, they would have stayed in school. They also, 71% also cited that if there had been better communication between parents and the school, that would have helped them stay in school. And more importantly, within the family unit, if the family unit had recognized the importance of attendance, the importance of after-school programming, the importance of school as a whole, they would have had a better chance of staying in school. So nationally, those are the trends. So now let's bring it down to Texas and see what Texas looks like, and in particular, what it looks like for Hispanics. As everyone in this room probably knows, Hispanics in Texas is the fastest growing subgroup. 36% of Texans are Hispanic. 68% of our Hispanics graduate from high school within 4 years. That's 10 percentage points below the overall rate. And remember, we're talking about 4 years, the cohort. There's a higher percentage because some of them go to summer school, some of them may take a little bit longer. The class of 2007, 42.5% of the Hispanic graduates enrolled in either college or technical training the following fall. That was compared to 45% of our African American students and almost 58% of our white students. The Texas plan for closing the gap, for getting more of our Hispanics, more of our minority students, more of our poverty students into college was a 2000 state plan called, interestingly enough, Closing the Gaps. And this targeted increasing college enrollment to 5.7% of the population in Texas by 2015. To date, Hispanic college enrollment has increased from 3.7% to 3.9% in the 9 years of this state plan. And as you can see, Hispanic enrollment is concentrated primarily at the border schools. If you look at the UT systems, 86% of the students at UT Pan American are Hispanic. 91% of the students in Brownsville are Hispanic. 75% are Hispanic students at UT El Paso, one of my alma maters, my husband's as well. 16% of the students at UT Austin are Hispanic. 9% of the students at UT Dallas are Hispanic. And interestingly enough, at the University of Houston, 20% of the student population is Hispanic. So what are the stumbling blocks according to this study and according to college trends? What are the stumbling blocks for students in Texas to close that gap in college? Lack of money. And lack of money because, again, students in our minority groups, students of poverty, don't know how to tap into the system of scholarships. They don't know where to apply. They don't know how to apply. They don't know how to do a FAFSA. They don't know how to do the kinds of things that students who are in college know how to do. Lack of role models. They don't have anybody to turn to that would help them understand how to do that. Lack of knowledge and understanding to persevere within the college setting. Once they get in, then they don't know how to understand the system. They don't know how to persevere. They don't know how to overcome. They don't know where to get the money for their next meal. They don't know where to get the money for the books. Many Hispanics are the first in their family to go to college, so they can't really provide that kind of necessary intervention and training about college. And finally, there are a lack of support systems in colleges, just like there are in the high schools, where our students couldn't access tutoring or they couldn't access some of the after-school programs. The same thing holds true in colleges. They don't know what they are. They don't have access to them. And many of our colleges just don't even have them. So now, those are some of the trends in Texas. We've kind of seen a big picture nationally, trends in Texas. Now let's narrow down to Humble ISD. So if these are the trends, what is Humble ISD doing to combat these trends, to affect change, to overcome some of these obstacles? Well, some little demographics. Currently, as of fall 2008, this 2008-09 school year, we had almost 34,000 students. Of those students, almost 26% of us are Hispanic, 18% of us are African American, and almost 53% of us are white. If you look at the distribution of our students by division, we have 10,000 high school students in our district. That represents about 22% Hispanic. We have about 7,700 students in the middle schools, about 23%. And look at how large the elementary division is. We have almost 16,000 elementary students, representing almost 30% Hispanic, that will be moving up into the middle schools. And the programs that you're going to hear about in just a minute will allow them to continue on through high school to complete their 4 years. All right, so what does Humble ISD to remove the barriers and achieve academic excellence? Well, in 2002, the district had a High Schools of the Future task force. This task force was charged with creating educational specifications to overcome those trends that I talked about earlier. What did our high schools need to look like for the next 15 years so that we could overcome those challenges, so that we could overcome those burdens? This particular task force was made up of about 150 community members, students, administrators, counselors, teachers, business partners. And all of these people came together over a 6-month period of time, and they determined educational specifications that they wanted in our high schools of the future. And this is a summary of what some of those specifications were. For example, and I'm sure you are aware that Atascocita High School is only 3 years old. We're about ready to open Summer Creek High School in the fall. Kingwood High School, Humble